aside from healthcare workers and first responders, superintendents were on the front lines of the pandemic in a way that I don't think the general public really understands. And that's not to minimize the work that other people in the education system did, teachers, principals, custodians, bus drivers, everybody. But the reality was that superintendents had to be the conduit of information from the state and the feds. We had to make it applicable to our local context. And we we were the ones in many cases that our community was looking to for reliable information. And I remember, and Matt Miller, who I think you know, Leslie as well, former superintendent in Ohio, who's in the book as well, and he tells this story a lot about he called me when they knew they were about to close to ask me, how to prepare, because we were just a little bit ahead, as I said, given our proximity to the onset of COVID. And I said, put teaching and learning aside, you've got to get a meal plan in place, right? So, it was, how are you going to feed your kids and families? How are you going to provide devices? How are you going to provide paper packets for the families that don't have internet? How are you going to provide internet? How are you going to eventually mobilize vaccination clinics with your local hospital? So all of these things that wouldn't fall under the heading of what a school system is responsible for really became what school systems were responsible for. And, I think in many instances, Leslie, and you know this to be true, that, many communities wouldn't have been fed, wouldn't have received the services that they needed to make it through that time. And, a lot of our education leaders played a big part in that. And it's important to share that story.